Ali Grosscore Larson.
Delete the Twitter video after 10 seconds because the audio was scuffed. Oh, he deleted the video. He must. Why? Listen to the video, you stupid, degenerate, loser, little freak. It's scuffed, you idiot.
How did this Twitch streamer go from meteoric success
come on, so like, hey, let's get on to a Skype call.
to a permanent ban?
Guys, I'm not smart. I've never been smart. Look at me. I'm permanently banned on Twitch TV. I'm not a smart person. I'm very dumb.
And how did this happen to him not once, but twice?
You know, you're indefinitely banned for adult sexual exploitation.
From a teenager uploading RuneScape clips to YouTube in 2008, to earning $35,000 per month on Twitch, to begging his audience to subscribe to his girlfriend's OnlyFans so she can pay his rent and stop his possessions being taken by the debt collectors, and of course making videos about how good it feels to watch her have sex with other men. From rich and famous, on the path to generational wealth, to a broke lolcow. This is Grosscore's entirely deserved rise and fall.
Wow! Yoppa! Wow! What the f***? That was awesome! Oh my god!
League of Legends was and still is one of the most streamed games in the world. The fanbase is massive, and during the early days of the scene, Grosscore had managed to build himself a moderate audience. The 2014 to 2017 period of his career is one that many early fans look upon fondly. The good old days. It was never without drama or controversy, but at least it was mostly harmless, and he had a genuinely entertaining stream with a personality and vibe that almost doesn't exist even nowadays on the platform.
I'm sorry that I can't be myself on stream. I'm sorry that I can't be a bit negative. I can always be positive, mate, because I'm a robot. Bip boop, bip boop, bip boop.
Known for his energetic, engaging personality, entertaining commentary, and the never know what will happen next factor of a Grosscore stream, it seemed greater success was only a matter of time for Ali Larson. Couple this with a high level of gameplay in League of Legends, with him being in the top 0.1% of ranked players in Europe, and he had everything he needed. Unfortunately, due to growing up on the internet, creating videos and live streaming for so long, Grosscore possessed absolutely no filter on what he should or shouldn't say or share with his fanbase. This is possibly what made him so relatable and garner such a large audience in such an early stage of Twitch. If it came to his head, he'd talk about it, no matter how stupid it was or how bad it made him look.
And I did get a bit carried away, and I did touch up like her ass, like here, and I was like, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just soft and it's nice.
Add on to this, as a prominent streamer, he was a self-proclaimed lad, and he constantly entertained the advances of girls who followed him, often inviting them over to his home, having them on stream, meeting them at events, and of course privately. Eventually, at a League of Legends official event, rumours started to circulate. Pro players were rumbling that Grosscore had tried to sexually assault a girl who had rejected him. He of course heard these rumours and decided, in his usual manner, to just go on stream and rant about it.
About me, the people, because crap, I've got chat logs of people, I've already seen it, going around, taking a piss, ha ha ha. Grosscore, he got rejected, ha, because he tried f***ing her. The f*** is up with that? Why are you going around trying to paint this image? Because that's what they're doing. They're going around to all these other players saying dumb shit like, yeah, but Grosscore tried rape girl. That's what I've been told. Hilarious, isn't it? Well, Creppo, be careful, man, because I know about that young girl you slept with, the 15-year-old. Oh, shit, should have said that, but don't worry, buddy. I can play. Don't play a fire, okay? You get burned. All right, f***er?
As for whoever's in the right or wrong here with accusations without evidence on both sides, I can't confirm. But the person Grosscore accuses here of a pretty heinous act worked for League of Legends developer Riot Games on their professional esports broadcast, which of course was partnered with Twitch.tv, which is the website where Grosscore's entire career existed. And so, with that, Grosscore received a permanent ban from Twitch.
And now I'm permanently banned because everything that happened yesterday, I'm permanently banned. It's over. This is how it ends. It's over. It's finished. Everything, all the time I put into, everything is done in a heartbeat, in a click. It's over.
Now, of course, when this happened in April of 2016, for someone who was averaging thousands of concurrent viewers and earning thousands of dollars each month, this was essentially deleting his entire career. He had very few options to continue, with Twitch being the premier streaming platform currently, and other competitors being drastically behind in either tech, viewership, or both. With that being said, he moved over to the website Hitbox TV and continued to try and do what he did best: entertain and climbed the ranks in League of Legends. Unfortunately, despite some of his audience transferring over to follow him, his viewership was in decline and he had a very low ceiling for growth. This undoubtedly stunted his career, but luckily a year later in June of 2017, keeping his nose clean and not doing anything to garner much more attention in terms of the negatives, Twitch decided to give him a second chance. He was back on the platform and seeing double the viewers he ever saw before the ban. Whether it was the renewed energy for being back where he had a real future, something to grind towards, knowing that he could make it successful, or the fact that there were no other streamers like him in the League of Legends scene at the time, or something else entirely. Either way, he was doing great.
Don't tell me now that Grow Score streams are only 3 hours long. Rip, boring, la, can't take this job seriously. Hey, I'm like a fucking expensive hooker, okay? I only do like 5.5 hours. I don't work like 7 hours a day. That'd be exhausting. I'm out.
Unfortunately, according to his stream analytics, Groscore struggled with something that will become a massive factor later in the analysis of his career: inconsistent work ethic. For a guy who grew up in a caravan with a family without a lot of money, having thousands of dollars each month meant that he could pretty much do whatever he wanted. He didn't live extravagantly in terms of rent or anything like that, and after the initial high of being back on Twitch wore off, he started streaming infrequently, with less streaming hours each time. Due to this, his viewer numbers saw peaks and valleys, as streaming of course rewards consistency more than almost anything else. You need to be there for your viewers to watch, and if you're not, they're just going to find somebody else to watch, and they might never return if they find someone who is around for them when you're not. At this point, he stagnated for a couple of years. He was streaming, he was living his life, he was getting between 1,000 and 2,000 concurrent viewers each stream, earning good money, but of course, it wouldn't be Grow Score without some drama.
Drama, lads! Who wants some drama? Let's make some drama! Hey, there's Emilius Pro! Let's make some drama, lads!
At the RuneScape annual convention called RuneFest, Groscore arrived and began drinking heavily. During the convention, he managed to get caught on camera doing numerous things that he really shouldn't have been doing, such as the clip you just saw, grabbing a girl and kissing her seemingly without permission, and repeatedly commenting on a woman's breasts to her face, and to his friends to her face.
No offence to the woman. She was wearing a really revealing top, but I think a lot of people need to understand that if you're going to wear something so revealing, people will comment on it. Her name was Rachel. I said, hi, nice to meet you. What's your name? Rachel. And she's got, hi, I'm Rachel. Hi, Rachel. And I said, Raj, meet Rachel. Raj, meet Rachel and her tits. I just...
Following this, Groscore also got into an actual physical fight with other attendees during the same event, which resulted in him being escorted off premises by the police. As with almost everything in Groscore's career and Ali Larson's life, the moment he found out about his ban was captured live on Twitch.
Extremely bad news, I'm not joking. I'm being banned on Twitch for 30 days, starting as soon as I end my stream.
This of course wasn't a great look for him, and for Twitch as well. Just a year ago they'd given him a second chance, something not many people get. And the last thing you want to do when on your second life with a corporation who doesn't really care about you is to become predictable as a brand risk. He was likely warned that this was the last chance, and from here on, he tried to keep his nose clean and work at his career. He started doing cooking streams, raising tens of thousands of dollars in the process from donations, using the money in his usual fashion in a completely irresponsible manner to purchase lavish items such as a new Jaguar, despite already having what he called his dream car sitting in the garage. Though to Groscore and many people who have been lucky enough to earn an amazing living through the exponential growth of social media and content creation, he likely thought the money would just never end, that the good times like his new Jaguar would keep rolling. And he wasn't exactly wrong. In 2021, after Twitch's new terms of service and likely a realization he was wasting the opportunity given to him by being the same on-camera person from back in 2014, which wasn't growing, Ali Larson reinvented his content, reinvented Groscore. No longer was his stream focused on screaming, going crazy on camera, reacting to situations with his viewers angrily. He was instead reserved, but still energetic and entertaining. Bear in mind, from 2014 till 2021, he'd basically hovered around 1,000, 2,000 viewers at his peak. Within a month of making these changes, he was at 4,000, 8,000, 10,000. It was not only a massive redemption arc for the once permanently banned streamer, but a massive financial opportunity. He was now earning well over £35,000 per month in ad revenue donations, With the likelihood of becoming a millionaire within a year and set for life in 2, all he had to do was keep this up and keep himself out of any drama. So what Ali thought would be a little bit of banter to get roasted by the Reddit community was actually the beginning of his downfall, or at least the second downfall. People were bringing up his past, and they had the receipts. In an attempt to perform damage control and perhaps inadvertently triggering the Streisand effect, Groscore removed the thread on the Roast Me subreddit. Unfortunately for him, Livestream Fails, a community that are best known for reveling in the downfall of streamers and basking in the resulting schadenfreude of lives being ruined, picked up on the story and turned it into a lightning rod. At this point, Ali made a video addressing the situation, specifically going through the links posted, of which there were many, and trying to explain context, address and ultimately apologise for the contents of each accusation. He likely thought he could get ahead of this before Twitch picked it up and potentially banned him again.
I regret it so much. It's probably one of the biggest regrets of my life, without a doubt, and I sit here and I regret it every day. It was the worst experience of my life, and still to this day, it's one of the biggest regrets. Looking back at it, I completely regret saying that. It was none of my business, and I look back and I regret saying it on the stream. This, which is definitely the biggest regret of my life. Everything I've said in that video, I regret. It is no doubt in my brain the biggest regret of my life still to this day. It's the biggest regret of my life still to this day. I regret it. Something obviously it's stupid to say.
This, as you likely would have guessed, didn't work.
Indefinite. So I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm so used to being thrown around in this community and like being bullied and picked on. They're bringing up stuff from 2016 with the Celestia thing, I think. I didn't do anything. I didn't send Celestia parents any revenge porn. I just showed her mum her Instagram account. Celestia was 18 at the time, going on 19. It was in 2016. I don't know why this is happening, and I get Twitch for trying to protect people, but I'm just at this point, I'm so used to this happening to my career. It's just someone out there doesn't want to see us fly. Someone out there doesn't want to see us succeed.
Now for context, the accusation of distributing nude images without consent comes from when Groscore travelled to America as a 23-year-old man to be with then-girlfriend Celestia Vega, who was 17. They allegedly had sex, and when he returned to England, they broke up, at which time he wrote a note to her mother, including a USB drive, which he said had a video on it, but posted on Snapchat saying it was actually full of Celestia's nude images, which of course would constitute many illegal acts, and all documented on his social media as an admission. This was why he was banned, and he claimed in the apology video going over the claims that this was actually just a link to Celestia's Instagram, and they never really even had sex. He was just too embarrassed to admit it, but this Twitter exchange between the pair in August of 2016 would of course state otherwise. It also doesn't help that Groscore has contextually bragged multiple times as a mid-20-something man of having frequently slept with 16-year-old girls in England, which, while not illegal, as that is the age of consent, would be seen as incredibly weird and creepy, especially if it's a repeated behaviour and coupled with other such allegations. Due to this and a host of other sexual impropriety towards numerous women,
I was pissed up drunk and I got my dick out in front of Ice Poseidon.
Oh
I
god.
don't fucking know. This
Oh god,
news to me, right? But Jenna apparently
Wait, why
Steve
would
was
you
like,
just randomly whip your dick out? What the fuck?
I thought that's not me. Like, and apparently Ice Poseidon made me do it.
it's unsurprising that this was the straw that broke the camel's back, the camel in this metaphor of course being Twitch.tv. They'd given him more chances than he probably deserved, but they were done with taking the risk associated with the Groscore stream. Now this of course to me is a clear actions meets consequence situation, though for him it must have felt difficult to reconcile he'd been banned for things that happened 5 to 8 years in his past, especially since all of this had been public knowledge the entire time. In his mind, he'd kept his head down for the last couple of years and was finally on track to fulfill his dreams. Now it's possible, since these things were years ago, had he maintained an apologetic energy after the ban, perhaps he could have found redemption in a rare third chance from Twitch one day, or at least transitioned over to a successful YouTube streaming career. After all, this was no longer 2016, it wasn't Twitch or Hitbox with no viewership. Twitch was garnering a reputation for killing their platform, YouTube were investing heavily in capturing the market share of live streaming audience, and other people had successfully transitioned from a career ended on Twitch, such as Dr. Disrespect in Destiny, not to mention the many streamers that moved for contractual gains. Groscore, however, went entirely off the rails.
You're all fucking idiots if you sit there and think, oh yeah, he's taken the money and scammed us. He took that money and scammed us. No, he's out clubbing. He's out clubbing. You fucking loser, degenerate fucking idiots to think that I paid off the fucking money. I went to a gaming bar last night. I got my arse beat in Tekken. I made a Twitter video talking about that. I deleted the Twitter video after 10 seconds because the audio was scuffed. Oh, he deleted the video. He must. Why? Listen to the fucking video, you stupid, degenerate, loser, little freak. It's fucking scuffed, you fucking idiot.
Throughout the remainder of 2021 and all of 2022, you could visibly see the man unravel in front of your eyes. He was becoming the internet's new lolcow, a name given to people who exist almost entirely to be made fun of online, earning himself Darkside Phil or Wings of Redemption levels of notoriety. People were tuning into his dying streams that consisted of 1 to 200 people, simply to see him devolve into madness.
They stole my fucking legs. I was good the whole raid. You guys all saw everything. I was from the second I got that raid, I was being a little bitch. No, I'm not coming back. I don't care. Him. Let him find a fucking replace the DPS. Him. Everyone watching knows that fucking raid leader. It was, I can promise you, it was Giga Axis. Giga Texas. I guarantee it was my fucked up hater, Giga Texas, that was whispering him, oh yeah, he's a foul. Oh, he's a rapist. He rapes people. Right.
Berserker, you write into some scammer and whisper, check the name.
Oh my god.
Who's whispering?
Someone's pretending to be. Oh my god. He wasn't giving 2 rolls. He's a fucking scammer. He was pretending to be him.
His YouTube videos wouldn't get views either, though like many others who lacked the ability to reflect on their position, Groscore blamed this entirely on his name.
This is the last video gonna be uploaded to this channel forever. Let me explain why. The name, Gross Gore. The name is vulgar. YouTube limit my videos and my channel because of the name. That's how YouTube is. Gore and gross are considered bad words, so YouTube have been limiting my channel for years since they implemented this system. That's why my channel's got no growth.
This, as with almost everything Ali Larson has said from 2021 until now, didn't last for very long, nor was his assessment of the situation accurate, which is also a trend. Groscore the name is not the reason why the channel wasn't growing. Groscore the person was. The reason the likes and dislikes are disabled, the comments are disabled, and when they're not, it's full of abuse or full of a dislike ratio larger than the like ratio, is entirely because of his own behaviour. He should have been asking himself the question, why would somebody watch me now? A man who knows nothing except the privilege of a successful career online and refuses to reflect on why it is this happened to him. A man who dines out on the past of being what he refers to as a somebody, who refuses to move on and get a real job, or even putting the time and effort to pursue what he calls his dream on alternative and totally viable platforms.
People out there that tell me to get a fucking job, like, you. Seriously, you. Like, what, are you crazy? Like, you want me, I know what you're doing, you want me to fucking quit my YouTube, you want to quit streaming, you want to quit Twitter, you want to quit social media to go work a job, making 15 grand a year. Are you fucking crazy? Are you fucking crazy? Are you fucking out of your fucking mind? Why? So we have a little bum like you? F you, man. I will keep on trying to make it fucking work until it fucking works.
He seems to have forgotten that one of the reasons people watched Groscore in the first place was his relatability factor. How he talked about and how he saw his fans now was no longer compatible with that original relatability. And it's not just that he thinks this way, it's that he lacks the awareness to not hit send after recording the video, who lacks the self-control to simply not reply to the quote, haters. He has no idea that he's fallen into the trap. He's in the lolcow spiral. He does and says things that he believes are okay to do and say. People laugh at him for it. Then he responds to the people laughing at him, giving them more reason to laugh, and on it goes. The only thing he does to break this cycle is to abuse his real fans who try to give him advice. His video releases for around a year was, what would you like to see? Get some suggestions, say he was going to do them, and then the next video complain about how everything was going badly, only to be told, you've not really streamed, you've not really made these videos, you've not really made any attempt to do anything differently. Add on to all of this that Ali Larson, Groscore, has struggled with the messaging he wants to send out regarding his past behaviour and ban. At the beginning of it all, he was apologetic, stating he'd grown, he was no longer that person who did those things. But within months, he'd fallen down a real dangerous rabbit hole. After all, when you push somebody to the fringes of society, who is it they will find there? Other fringe individuals and ideas. They are the ones who will side with you no matter what you did. Instead of working on himself and his image, Ali Larson decided to blame his entire situation on other people. He'd actually done nothing wrong, and it was just them that were there to cancel him.
I got banned. That's right, counter-cultured and all that, and a lot of jealous British people, hundreds of British people on Twitch gunned me down because in the UK, we've got something wrong with the society in the UK. No other country in the world, just the UK. When someone's doing well in the UK, it's called the crab effect. They don't want to see you doing well because they don't like you because they're doing shit. So they want to take you down.
It was at this point in his quest to find acceptance among the unacceptable, he likely killed any shot he has of growing on YouTube and building a lifestyle he could be proud of. As in his worldview, if he isn't rich and famous, he's a waste of life, loser, nobody.
And it's like, well, I don't want to fucking throw in a towel and go work at McDonald's. I don't want to be a 30-year-old man working at McDonald's. I want to be a somebody. I want to be a fucking YouTube. I want to be a fucking YouTube goddamn star. I want to be a YouTube streamer. I want to be a somebody, man.
The issue is, and probably always will be, that if you've grown up on the internet, getting hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views, making tons of money, you probably cannot do anything wrong in your head. You're always correct. Everyone else is always against you. The system, the world, the people. Groscore has no concept of the saying, if everywhere you go it smells like shit, time to check your shoes. He believes he's the victim of cancel culture, not the victims of his actions meeting their rightful consequences. He seems to forget that you are allowed mistakes, and he's evidence of this. He returned from the original mistakes, but when you constantly make them, be given enough rope to prove that you haven't grown or been humbled by them, why would anybody extend you more chances to repeat the cycle? It seems at this stage he's happy to refuse to change, only to make empty promises and placate his ego by blaming others. Maybe he's unaware that you're unlikely to change people or the world, but the one thing you can change is yourself and the way that you adapt to it. And now to round all of this off and bang home the point of inconsistency, if you're familiar with the Groscore saga, you've likely seen this video.
One of the things I want to be talking about today is cuckery, okay? Because I know right now on the internet, the term cuck is used as an insult. Why?
Ali has been incredibly outspoken in recent months about him and his girlfriend's lifestyle. He claims to love that she does OnlyFans and really enjoys watching other men have sex with her in front of him. But since Ali's life as Groscore is so perpetually online, due to his choice to publish it all, we don't have to go back too far to see that things may not be as good as they seem.
She's joined that website. I'm proud of her, and I hope she does really well on there. She decided to make the account. I wanted her to do it half a year ago, and then recently she wanted to do it, so she went and did it.
Now I'll ask you, does that look like the face and tone of a man that's happy his partner is doing OnlyFans? He posted a follow-up video to this after she'd been on the site for just 5 days, confirming that he's having issues with her being super busy chatting to other men who want to have sex with her and fulfilling their private requests for personal content. He also frequently posted on Twitter talking about being terrified of her leaving him for another man who had more money, was more attractive, and was more successful, which wouldn't be too hard right now, since he was working less than ever before, seemingly in deep depression, and had no idea how to get back to where he wanted to be. Now, not long after this, in fact only a couple months of being clearly distressed by the scenario, he was posting about being very happy that other men were involved in the relationship with his girlfriend.
So we have this pact in our relationship where we won't ever do anything with another woman, but I will admit this right now, we have had a lot of threesomes, and we've had a fair few amount of foursomes as well, all guys.
Which is, of course, known on the internet as being a cuck.
I'm not the type of cuck that would sit in a closet and watch and jerk off while watching my missus get ploughed. Now, I'm going to be completely honest again, I have done that.
Essentially, Groscore thought his rebranded new direction of content would benefit from having a 33-minute long video explaining how not insecure he is about the whole situation, which is of course ironic. Now, there are some contextual elements to this that confused me while researching the finer details of this story, such as Groscore stating when he was banned on Twitch to having £35,000 in cash, which he spent drinking across multiple months before meeting Safi, which is his girlfriend. He got himself in £4,500 worth of credit card debt on top of this and was earning less than £1,000 per month. But since his girlfriend started OnlyFans, his credit card debt has vanished and they are doing great financially to the point he hardly streams, doesn't make videos, and outright refuses to get a job. This means despite claiming to go 50-50 on bills, it's almost certain that he is a kept man, and she's paying for them both in the relationship. Which I'm not saying to disparage him in any kind of way or say that there's anything wrong with that. If they're happy with the situation, more power to them. But it seems odd to go from depressed that men speak to your girlfriend and insecure she might leave, to letting men who she meets on OnlyFans come over and have sex with her.
We've also met people on nights out as well, and we've gotten to know them.
So OnlyFans, nights out, and my friends, fans even.
It doesn't make a ton of sense to swap up so quickly, but maybe he just had a change of heart in that short span of time. It is of course also possible he thinks doing this will prevent her leaving him for another man, if she can just have any other man she wants anyway. This factor also plays into why he likely won't be with other women, despite that being a much fairer arrangement. Now you might be thinking that the bad stuff ends there, but of course no. The reason his girlfriend even started OnlyFans in the first place is because Grosscore begged her to do so, even manipulated and guilt-tripped her, of course live on stream.
That is such a missed opportunity for you. You could have so much in your life, but okay, I'll continue to make £100 a day and we're scraped by.
His girlfriend and his entire chat is calling him out the whole time for this behaviour, and he constantly shouts at them, looking like a child who got denied candy at the store while doing so. She then 5 months later decided on her own to start doing OnlyFans, though with a different arrangement. Originally he was suggesting they split her income 50-50 as if he was managing her career in some kind of way, but now made a point to state in a recent video that it was her account and she was keeping 100% of the money, though of course she is paying for the majority of the bills. It's also worth noting, to play into the insecurity factor and why maybe this is going on, that Grosscore's ex-girlfriend, who he also convinced to do OnlyFans, did eventually do well and then leave him, which is likely why things have turned out the way they have this time.
Do not date a girl that does Patreon OnlyFans. Don't date a girl that sells her nudes or whatever. Don't do it. Don't do it, because you'll get made fun of. You get called cuck. If you're a guy who will allow other men to jerk off to your missus, get your head scanned.
My last point is that there is a stark contrast between who Ali Lawson thinks he is and who Grosscore actually is.
I've just acted crazy and stupid and angry in the past for attention because I just thought no one would like watching me for who I am today.
Shut the f*** up and go away. Shut the f*** up and go away. Get off my feed. Get off, follow me. I've blocked you, bruv. I've blocked you. If you're watching this, you're a freak. Piss off, you fucking freak. Freak. You fucking freak. Freak.
For context, all this man did was tell Ali to stop starving himself and to stop promoting it, instead to just exercise and eat healthily. But this is the true Grosscore, a man who claims to have changed, who is calm, and who deserves yet another chance in the limelight. So at the end of it all, we ask the question, is this the end of Grosscore's story? And I'll say, absolutely not. In fact, this video could have been 2 to 3 times longer and changes with every day. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. The internet is all he knows. He's still going to keep lazily trying to get back to who he thinks he should be, rich and famous, but without any of the effort required. Clinging on to the "do you know who I am, mate, I'm Grosscore from moderate internet fame 8 years ago," instead of trying to be Grosscore of 2023 and beyond. I'm sure he'll stick around and continue to be the butt of the internet's jokes, to tweet at streamers and joke about them fucking his girlfriend, and to lie to what remains of his audience about bigger and better things to come. But will they? Will this remaining audience even stick around? Or is this all just another empty promise by a man incapable of moving on?
And everything's gonna be fine. I'll be back when I'm back, and I'm gonna be grinding. I'm gonna be grinding harder than ever. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. My life is a comeback story, and I'm telling you now, this is just the beginning. So there you go. Please like and share this video so it gets the word out to all my viewers. And I love you guys, and I'll see you again soon.
How do you go from earning tens of thousands of dollars each month, building an online brand and entertaining millions of people, to incapable of breaking 2,000 views per video and being lucky to make $100 a month from it? What does the most toxic player in the most toxic online game look like? Well, meet Shacklone.
I hope you f***ing drop dead, you disgusting subhuman. Why are you alive? Why is the Zoe alive, dude? Can you not find the rope? Why are you alive?
League of Legends, a game that has a reputation for being one of the most toxic, rage-inducing experiences you can imagine.
This guy wanna play with me just so he can play me like an actual no-life piece of king poop garbage. His dog shit on the floor.
Sick of this company. The trash! Fix the game! It sucks playing the shit!
Take 5 human players and pit them against 5 other humans. Add in a scoreboard, a competitive ranked ladder, meaning losses have real-time consequences to your progression, and the biases of a human believing they are much better at a task than they actually are. This is a progression from the 1v1 era of competitive games like StarCraft, where failure resulted in you only being able to blame yourself, or the video game, or your opponent's strategy that you just couldn't overcome. Now that you have teammates, it's much easier to engage with. You have 4 others who are clearly worse than you, less intelligent, less attractive, and obviously at fault when you don't win. With this, you have the recipe for incredibly unpleasant interactions. Shacklone not only embodies this experience like none other you'll find on the internet, but also the experience of how a once bright career as a content creator earning potentially millions of dollars can turn into a bitter existence just full of hatred. From grinding out videos on YouTube with massive initial Every day, the lottery pays out millions of dollars to winners all over the world. In the blink of an eye, you can go from swimming in debt to swimming in a custom-built saltwater infinity pool. The promise of an easy win is the hook, and almost nobody is immune to the prospect. You go to sleep living week to week, and wake up being financially free. The literal dream, right? Until you examine the statistics, of course, and you'd have a better chance of being struck by lightning than winning the jackpot. Unless, of course, you find a way to beat the system. What if you could win, not once, but over and over and over again? Meet Victor Jonai, a 40-year-old successful real estate agent and father of 4. He ran his own commercial real estate company in the Detroit area of Michigan, negotiating deals for Walmart and fast food chains. Described by co-workers as smart, funny, and hardworking, Victor grew up a child of immigrants from the Balkans. His parents spoke very little English, which offered Victor lemons, and he turned it into lemonade. At the age of 12, he single-handedly negotiated the sale of the family home. By the time he was 18, he was a full-time real estate agent, and soon after, negotiating multi-million-dollar deals. Despite his success, it was never enough, and Victor had a secret that could ruin even the wealthiest of people. He was deep in the grips of a crippling gambling addiction. It started out as most gambling addictions do, just a hobby. He would spend hours playing Club Keno, a game where 20 numbers from 1 to 80 are selected in drawings that occur every few minutes. Very soon he became convinced he'd figured out the system. He became obsessed. He thought the numbers weren't just random and was determined to prove himself right. He built an app to predict the drawings, and he was right. Victor walked away with $52,000 in winnings. That's where most people quit while they're ahead. But for Victor, that only made the addiction worse. He needed new, higher stakes, which made him switch to the Michigan Lottery Daily 4, which pays up to $5,000 a day, and the Daily 3, which pays up to $500. In both, a series of ping pong balls are drawn from a plastic tank at random. Not something that sounds predictable, right? I mean, it's random. But that wouldn't stop Victor from trying. A Daily 4 ticket costs $1 to play, but you can spend up to $24 on what they call a wheel play, which turns any combination of 4 numbers into a winner. So if you bet the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, any combination of these will win. 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 4, 2. You get the idea. This increases your likelihood of winning from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 416. Yet again, Victor found a way to increase his chances of winnings, but it was still a gamble on random odds. Odds he could hedge in his favour mathematically, but they allowed you to do this. That's what it was specifically for. Not being content with this and thinking he could figure everything out still, he started to beautiful mind the numbers, obsessing how he could game the system further, resulting in elaborate spreadsheets that kept track of every number sequence that won, and trying to predict what numbers would come up next. He even connected the dates of his lucky numbers in an X shape on his calendar to help him figure out when his next numbers would be played. This, of course, didn't work. Despite being an intelligent man who'd beaten other systems, Victor struggled to recognize that there are no patterns to random lottery drawings. Every night is independent of the next. If the numbers 0059 win on one night, they have exactly the same chance of winning as any other set of numbers the very next night. Despite this, Victor still believed in his system. Whether by sunk cost fallacy, fear of missing out, or something else entirely, he stuck to the plan. And eventually it worked, or at least he thought it did. See, according to his completely unscientific system, his lucky numbers 7800 would do, because they hadn't come up in a while. So he did the only logical thing. He bought between 300 and 1,000 tickets every single day, from June 15th until June 17th, and he lost every single day. But on June 18th, he bought 500 tickets and he won. Big time. $2.5 million. An absolute dream come true for everybody except for Victor, who looked stoic, almost bored as he collected the money. Just another day being a lottery gambling genius, right? One big win for Victor was nothing. He was too deep to quit, and so he continued to play, continued to chase the dragon. Americans spend $70 billion annually playing the lottery, which is more than they spend on any other form of entertainment combined. Most of the people playing never win anything more than a couple dollars. Victor, though, well, he just couldn't stop winning. A few months later in November, he won another $4 million. And then 4 months later in February, he won $9.5 million more, bringing the total of his winnings to over $28 million, making him one of the biggest lottery winners in Michigan's history. At this stage, he was so obsessed with the lottery, his real estate business was starting to suffer. So instead of walking away with all these winnings, he hired a friend to help him play the lottery. Gregory Vito would help with the lottery numbers, and Victor would continue to run his real estate company, which he established under a new name, Imperium, which is Latin for absolute power. With so much money coming in, Victor was starting to live the good life, upgrading his experiences. He traded in his 2015 Lincoln Navigator for a $100,000 black label, took his wife to the Jennifer Lopez concert in Las Vegas, and even splashed some extra cash so she could have a meet and greet with the star backstage. Next up on the glamorous come up, he bought a house on a 3.6 acre plot and made plans to tear down the existing property, building a Gothic style mansion that would be worth over $2.25 million once completed. Things seem to be going amazingly for Victor, but seems is the key word here. Just like $28 million seems like a lot of money. That is, if you have $28 million. On paper, Victor had that cash as winnings. In reality, he owed considerably more money due to how he got those winnings. At the start of this video, I mentioned that Victor had a crippling gambling addiction. He wasn't playing the lottery and getting lucky, he was gambling massive sums of capital every day until he won. He was forcing a win, and what he received was always less than it cost. To fund this habit, Victor had been scamming dozens of investors. He lured them into attractive real estate deals that were always too good to be true. He sold several investors purchasing rights to the same property and told buyers to wire large sums of money to a fake title company that he set up in his partner's name. Most of the money went right into buying more lottery tickets. He was operating a classic Ponzi scheme, robbing Peter to pay Paul. While ever new money kept coming in, he could pay off old investors, including profits, which convinced people that things were legit. They were not legit. There was no profit coming from anywhere, not from the real estate, not even from the gambling addiction. As with all Ponzi schemes, this was doomed to fail. Victor's system required him to keep winning for everything to keep going. But by St. Patrick's Day of 2018, the last of his luck, if that's what we're calling it, had run out. His last big win was $2 million on the jackpot, nowhere near enough to cover his massive deficit. After that, what could he do? He just kept trying, believing in the system that had never worked in the first place. Thoroughly convinced by the bias of a few wins and the sunk cost, constantly chasing a win. He played the numbers his system said would come up soon, and bought thousands of tickets a day to cover as many of them as he could. At one stage, he was allegedly spending as much money each week on the Michigan lottery as the state spends per year to treat gambling addiction, $1 million. He owed huge debts to the party stores he bought the lottery tickets from, but nothing compared to the people he convinced to invest in his Ponzi scheme. As his debts mounted, he routed bank statements away from his home address to keep his wife from finding out what was really going on. She thought they were rich, life was amazing, and her husband an incredibly successful businessman. His real business, however, was just a web of lies and obfuscation. In order to keep everything secret, Victor set up a complex system of limited liability companies, either registered to himself or his business partner, Gregory Vito, allegedly without Gregory's consent. According to a civil complaint filed against Victor by the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, from 2016 to 2019, Victor stole $26.4 million from 24 investors through 66 different real estate deals. One of these investors, Jerry Masakowski, owned a staffing company and knew Victor well through other real estate deals. Thinking him legit due to this connection, Victor managed to convince him to go in on the purchase of a medical plaza building in the nearby town of East Point, along with another investor named Chris Krostovsky. According to the agreement, the three men would own equal shares in the plaza building. As you can guess, that wasn't true. Instead of putting the money in an LLC that Jerry created, Victor made excuses about why the money needed to go to a company called Richfield Funding that was secretly owned by Gregory, his business partner from the lottery. The money was wired on July 18th, 2018 for the deal, and yet, according to court documents, Richfield Funding already owned the property dating back to November 2017. Victor then quietly borrowed $1.5 million against the Medical Plaza building, of course without telling his partners. He missed several repayments and then fed the men stories about his other investments that just needed a little bit of short-term financing. According to the eventual lawsuit, sometimes Victor would pay them back, but he would allow large debts to accumulate over time. Then, as the depths of his debt and degenerate addiction grew, it gets even shadier. In May of 2019, Victor went to Las Vegas for a shopping center conference and ran into Chris, one of the original investors. Victor nervously asked him not to discuss their business with another investor who was also attending the event. Suspicious, of course, Chris set up a secret meeting with said investor and discovered, to his surprise, that Victor had sold the exact same medical plaza to the other investor. On July 9th, 2019, Chris confronted Victor about missing repayments. Victor replied by text, "I'm in the process of fixing my behavior. I beg of you to not disclose any of this to anyone, please. My little girls need me, and this was a wake-up call on how much I need them. As long as I made money for everyone, I didn't think it would affect anyone. I was so damn wrong. I will have your money by Monday or Tuesday. I just want to go back to the old Victor. I miss him so damn much." By then, Gregory, his business partner, had told a reporter Victor was losing his mind. He said Victor talked about numbers for 20 hours a day and obsessed over patterns in license plates and telephone numbers. By August, Victor owed investors approximately $19 million, which wouldn't have been a huge deal had he kept the $28 million he won. He didn't. The winnings had all been used to fund his unbeatable system. It was all spent on losing lottery tickets. He had nothing left. By this stage, the stress of everything was getting to Victor. To anyone who hadn't seen him for a few months, they would have thought him unwell. He rapidly lost 30 pounds from his 6'5" frame, obsessing over his imminent capture. He seemed convinced the US Department of Justice was coming after him. On August 18th, he texted Jerry, "Just met with attorney. Unless there is a miracle in the next 24 to 48 hours, this whole thing gonna blow up. Please get prepared because the feds probably will come after our stuff. I'm truly sorry. I know sorry doesn't do anything, but it's all I can say at this point. Just told my kids 30 minutes ago. Nothing like watching your kids lose it. Jerry, if there is anything you can think of, please let me know. I don't want the whole ship to sink. Shortly after, Victor packed a duffel bag and left home. He turned himself in at the FBI field office, where he told agents his life was in danger. He demanded to be arrested. However, there was no reason for him to be arrested. There was no case. They turned him away. According to a later police report, at 6 a.m. on August 20th, 2019, officers responded to a complaint of a man possibly on some type of drugs at a hotel in Ann Arbor. Officers discovered Victor on the 3rd floor wearing only boxers and mumbling in broken sentences. Upon inspection of his room, they found lottery tickets, beer cans, wine bottles, pills, $2,000 in cash, and handwritten notes addressed to his family members. Officers took him to the University of Michigan Medical Center, where he was treated before being released. After leaving the hospital, Victor went into hiding for 6 months. Nobody could find him. His real estate agency, the Imperium Group, had closed their office since the workers were no longer being paid. Construction stopped on his $2.25 million mansion, as he owed the contractors $200,000. Victor wasn't wrong about the Justice Department, he was just a little bit early. On January 28, 2021, Victor was charged with 1 count of federal wire fraud. He hired a lawyer to represent him by the name of Steve Fishman, who has worked with many high-profile criminals. The DOJ built the case against Victor, which was relatively easy considering the number of people he'd pulled into a very blatant Ponzi scheme. In March of 2021, Victor pleaded guilty in court and agreed to pay back his victims to the tune of $25 million, as well as forfeiting another $19 million. However, his lawyer told the court that Mr. Jonai is broke and his family is in distress because of it. Victor was later sentenced to 53 months in prison. From the outside, Victor had it all, but enough was never going to be enough. The addiction made him incapable of quitting. That very first victory was all it took to convince him his system was a winner. He just had to stick to it and everything would work out. He found himself in the same hole that many gamblers find themselves, digging deeper and deeper to try and climb out, only stopping when there's nothing left to do but lay down and finally give in. That's how Victor Jonai won the lottery over and over while simultaneously ruining his life, turning the stereotypical dream into a living nightmare.
All of these people are international gangsters tied up in a gangster squad.
Matt Sprader, what are you doing there with my child, you fat
I mean, I'm not saying she's a terrorist. I say I'm suspecting that she's a terror cell.
My dad did hijack a plane, but so what? You're a blubbering idiot!
What if I told you that you are actually inside of the Matrix, which is nothing but a hallucination of your consciousness?
When I title this video, I'll probably call it something that sounds over the top, involving the word crazy, more than likely. Just know, this is not hyperbole. I'm not joking. Being a YouTuber for the last 3 or so years, people regularly contact me with leads for stories or general topics to cover. In those 3 years, this by far the most ridiculous one I've seen by a country mile. It's a feud for the ages, one that's spanned over 6 years and involves the CEO from companies like Epic Games, legal threats, doxing the FBI, copyright strikes, DMCAs, theft, just about every ism you can imagine, jail, real-life stalking, the theft of a child, and airplane hijacking. No, I'm not kidding. This onion has so many layers, it's taken me over 100 hours of watching videos to even scratch the surface. So here we go, strap yourself in for the wildest ride of your life, and allow me to introduce you to today's main character, Joe, aka Mr. Bones.
This content violates Epic's copyright. No, it doesn't, stupid! She is the international gangster leader.
But we are going to get down to the nitty-gritty of this. There will be no more yet.
I'm going to try and speed run the history because there's just so much to get through. According to LinkedIn, this story begins in 2001 when Joseph McPeak started True Bones, a motion capture, animation, software testing, and design studio. Since then, Joe has allegedly earned millions of dollars selling assets he created via online marketplace websites such as the Unreal Engine Marketplace, the Unity Store, Gumroad, others, and of course the True Bones official site. What's strange is that despite having over 20 years in the industry, there's almost zero social media engagement or reach from the brand. What does exist are usually self-promotion posts from Mr. Bones himself across different platforms with an insane frequency and consistency. The only videos, posts, or articles that talk about True Bones animation call into question the entire story, the legitimacy of the studio, and of course its creator. The earliest example of True Bones being outed for what he is comes from the Unity game development forums in 2013. In since deleted threads that existed to discuss asset packs being sold, True Bones was accused of theft. Essentially, he was taking assets he had licensed from other companies, deleting all the identifiable information from the files, such as names of the company that created them originally, and then packaging them into his own True Bones branded asset packs, which he would then sell online. This is, of course, not allowed. What seems to be the hang-up is that True Bones doesn't understand that royalty-free does not mean you have the right to resell the material, as he argued with the CEO of the company he was stealing from on this exact same point. This, as well as multiple other examples of him taking other people's work, packaging and reselling them as his own, resulted in his complete and permanent ban from the Unity forums and their marketplace. Of course, multiple times, as he does like to use sock puppet accounts. Despite it being very clear, common sense that you can't take someone else's work and sell it as your own, it's a concept that Joe has never been able to understand, not in 2013 and not in 2022, where he continues to do this.
I do make my own animations sometimes with motion capture, but most of the time I use other people's animations. Why? Because they're freely available and it's easy to find them and they're all over the internet. There is no such thing as piracy, folks.
If this was all he did, it likely wouldn't be video worthy. But now begins the era of One Gun.
Do you know, have you ever heard the name One Gun Shun? I wanted to talk more about if you know One Gun Shun and who he or she is. That this person could be a trans... I know that's kind of funny, but I don't make fun of transgender.
In 2017, a user by the name of One Gun Shun purchased some of True Bones' assets as well as participated in a competition, which he was
action figures to collect like this one, and in this video, I'm going to give you a guide on them. Hi, what's up everyone, and welcome to part 1 of this for more Destiny 2 content. Destiny 2 community.
Declared the winner of. At some point, One Gun figured out that the assets he purchased from True Bones were stolen and therefore worthless. He then confronted Joe about this, and Joe decided to disqualify him from the competition he'd won, claim he was committing piracy, and begun creating videos on YouTube harassing him.
A 500-pound nerd named One Gun Shun who is butthurt because he lost a contest. Ever since I told him he lost the contest because he entered a contest, an animation contest, but he used other people's animations, so I didn't think that was fair. And ever since then, this has been 5 years since the contest, he's been doing everything he can to destroy me.
And when I say harassing, I mean doxing him, with PayPal receipts including full names, addresses, phone numbers, pictures of his parents, the whole 9 yards. This started a feud that has been going back and forth now for over 5 years between the pair, though frequently sucking in passers-by like a black hole of cringe.
Watch out for them. Avoid Sally Peck at all cost. This Sally Peck is not a woman. She is the international gangster leader, and they're not even from around here. They're from the Philippines. I really want that thing there. I really want a broke Philippine who doesn't have a pot to piss in, who has to sell her body at night because she's involved in the prostitution in the Philippines. And it's not even a her. She's a trans prostitute. One gun.
These are, of course, not Joe's only enemies. These are some of the recent ones, if you can call 5 or 6 years being recent. A man liable to go nuclear the moment anyone questions him is likely to make more enemies than they are friends. And Joe is currently feuding with so many people and for so long that everyone would require their own documentary to detail, especially considering some of them go back over 30 years.
You don't post pictures of people's addresses. They only did it because I did it. Does that make it right? No, of course it doesn't make it right.
And it says right here that the petitioner's name is Matthew Sprader at one. That's not where he lives.
So how did they become enemies of Joe's? Well, typically, they're actually victims of Joe's behavior originally, and their only crime usually amounts to reporting him for the unhinged way he approaches every situation. In fact, it's just the unhinged way he approaches life in general. It's really weird, and it's bad, of course. Within 2 hours of watching videos about Joe, I'd already seen him pull up Google Maps Street View for about half a dozen people, showing their full names, their addresses, their contact details, and their only crime was to have wronged him in some way, and then he's built some fantastical conspiracy theory in his head.
So why is Joel Peters all of a sudden jumping on the bandwagon, the transsexual bandwagon with One Gun? That is the way to do it. Or then Autumn, another trans, goes, that is the way to do it. Take him down, stump him in the ground. Why is there a bed in your studio? You sleep with your mocap customers? Joe likes to lie in bed. So why is Gerald Peters now getting in on the witch hunt? On the transsexual witch hunt. There's 4 trans in One Gun's talk box. Why does One Gun attract trans? 'Cause he is a transgender, you dodo brain! He must really want to be a trans if he's hanging out with all these trans trolls. I'm not making fun of trans. I'm just saying you do not know whether it's a he or a she.
In my research for this video, I quickly discovered that there is no possible way to get the facts of the matter down to a T, and putting everything together would take thousands of hours. In fact, the timeline's not even really the most interesting part.
This person made One Gun believe that I stole something so that she could set up shop in the background. This is the person One Gun loves instead of his mother.
What really drew me in is that there's no trustworthy narrator in this story. One Gun's YouTube channel is thousands of videos, most of them multiple hours long, hundreds of them about True Bones, talking about this drama that's been going on for over 6 years. True Bones channels are of course much the same, only the VODs and channels are routinely deleted, only preserved by a few small YouTube channels that make compilations of this behaviour. One Gun will sit on a live stream and talk about Joe for hours every day. Then Joe will sit on his live stream and react to that live stream day after day, week after week, for over 5 years. They both routinely call the police on each other, file DMCAs, privacy strikes, police reports, protective orders, and just about everything you could possibly do without actually physically interacting in any kind of way. Now, you might be thinking, this is for the views, right? They're just drama farming and it's why they've been doing it. Wrong. There are no views on either side. Both of these people have little to no audience. Joe in particular has almost 0 viewers at all, and yet they spend considerable amounts of their waking hours dedicated to detailing this 6-year-long beef to an audience of nobody. There are even times where Joe's left his live stream on and he thought he turned it off, and you can hear him in the background watching One Gun's streams for hours, talking to himself, pausing it, and narrating what's going on, despite him being alone and not knowing the live stream is even there. Then again, nobody watches anyway, so it's kind of par for the course. This has been going on for so long and has involved the live supports of certain websites like Gumroad that they've decided to just stop responding to support tickets from the two on this matter, pointing out that nothing in life is worth 6 years of talking to support trying to get somebody's account banned. So what about Joe's other enemies? Well, initially when I was digging through everything, I found claims that True Bones was arrested and jailed for stalking a local waitress at a bar, which didn't entirely surprise me from what I'd seen, but it warranted a thorough investigation. So I got to digging into court records for the area, and apparently in 2012 Joe made friends with a waitress at a bar he frequented, though he thought it was much more than a friendship. He then went to her home while she was hosting a garage sale and began threatening shoppers, at which point they called the police and he was arrested. This, insanely, is the good part of the story. Joe went to prison for this. He was sentenced by a jury for 30 days in prison. He repeatedly violated his parole and ended up going back. And then when he was free and clear, decided to go online and dox the owner of the bar on his YouTube channel, as is his way. He said he was going to tell the truth about why he was sent to jail, why the bar owner wanted him gone. So what was the truth, Joe? Well, according to him, he was having sex with said waitress and they were expecting a baby together. So the bar owner had him imprisoned so he could steal the baby.
So this is a picture of Matt Sprader on the dock of Sprader's with who I think is my child. What are children doing down there at Sprader's? Matt Sprader, what are you doing there with my child, you fat f***? Did you hear what I said, folks? He stole my child, folks.
Allegedly, the bar owner is a wealthy local who's been running for some form of local government and has been harassed by Joe since 2012, to the point he's called the police numerous times. And here's a voice recording that Joe posted on his own YouTube channel of said owner contacting Joe's mother, who he lives with still, warning him to stop before he contacts the police again.
What do you want?
I don't want anything, Joe. I've told you for years, I don't want you to post stuff.
Wait a minute, Matt. I didn't post anything. Matt, I didn't post anything.
You had enough, Joe. You know what? You stepped over the line this time. I talked to the White Lake Police.
Oh, boy.
They're going to write me a report. I've talked to the girls when you stalked them and you went to jail over it. Personal protection order against you. And when you do it again, you're done.
Okay, Matt, I didn't post anything, Matt.
Yeah, you did.
Why exactly is Joe the way that he is? Well, during a live stream over on twitch.tv, where I was doing my initial research into the topic, I came across an article that involved a man of the same last name on a Tumblr blog titled Skyjacker of the Day, which chronicles people that hijack airplanes. I read the story thinking, wow, that's crazy, but surely a coincidence, right?
His dad was a hijacker! Yes, we know! It's in the newspaper! My dad did hijack a plane, but so what? You're a blubbering idiot! You're a blubbering idiot! You're gonna die soon!
Obviously, I'll take an L on that one. I was wrong. Joe's dad did in fact take his 3-year-old son on a plane with him and then tried to take it over with a sawn-off shotgun, which landed him in FBI custody and, of course, a 15-year prison sentence. According to the records, the man had severe mental health problems and 3 young children, each with a different mother. This contextualized things a little bit more for me. Joe clearly has been dealt a shit hand in life, with no one getting him the help he clearly requires. The result is a man who is severely delusional, paranoid, and believes himself to be the star of a show, despite nobody watching. Every enemy he creates ties back to prior characters, such as One Gun being the centre of the universe, Sally Peck being the leader of the underground mafia that are after his life, and Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, being a puppet of the pair who's being used to come after him and take him down.
The thing I don't understand is they didn't even wait 10 days for the counterclaim to close. It's like they really believe that this Jamie Anderson at Epic Games really exists. She does exist. Her real name is Sally Peck from Polywick. Can you please put a stop to this madness? Be careful, she also pretends to be a woman. These are the people that are using Epic's name to extort people with fake DMCA notices on YouTube. Look no farther than One Gun Shun and Sally Peck. And then the answer I get back? This is what doesn't make sense. Jamie Anderson is a contractor working on Epic's behalf. The DMCA notice are official notices sent on behalf of Epic because this content violates Epic's copyright. No, it doesn't, stupid! No, it doesn't, and you're not Tim Sweeney, so I put, excuse me, but that is not correct. I think you are an imposter, and I will expose you. There is no contractor working on Epic's behalf. Epic doesn't need to hire contractors. They got their own lawyers, and it's not Jamie Anderson. This whole thing is a hoax. This is not the real Tim Sweeney. No, He's been extorted. The official CEO, who has 85,000 followers, seems to think that it's his job to police the internet of Fortnite stuff.
So the context of this, he contacted Tim Sweeney on Twitter, yes, the real one, sending him essentially a manifesto about Sally, about lawyers who were pretending to work with Epic on Sally's behalf, sending him DMCA notices for his stolen work, and when Tim replied, telling him the lawyer was real and to stop harassing people, Joe blocked him, reported him to Twitter, claimed he's part of the conspiracy, and told Twitter that the real Tim Sweeney had been replaced by an imposter at the behest of none other than One Gun and Sally Peck. After this, Joe continued to make videos, tag socials from Epic Games in his conspiracy theories that the lawyers didn't actually exist and they were part of the underground, mafia or whatever, at which point one of the lawyers called him and he of course recorded it and live streamed it on the internet.
Jamie Anderson is real, okay? I am real. I'm a real lawyer.
I don't believe you, but go ahead. One Gun and Sally have been impersonating Jamie Anderson. Using his
Jamie
email.
Anderson, I don't know if they're impersonating. Jamie Anderson is real.
I happen to know that he was in contact with Jamie Anderson talking to some Sally Peck, who is a transgender from Polynesia, who's a hacker pirate, who is on the deep dark web black hat list.
This is only a fraction of what Joe's been doing over the last decade, and I'm sure this video will make me part of the conspiracy. I wonder where I'll fit in and what grandiose title I'll get. Perhaps illegally threaten me as well, take down this video, dox me, as he has done more in response to less. My takeaway from delving into the minds of Moria and discovering what lurks below is much bigger than True Bones as an individual. There are thousands of people, just like Joe, out there doing the same things, if not worse. People that are broadcasting their delusions online, working themselves up into a frenzy over extended periods of time, and some even more dangerously. When I started researching this video, I thought this will be a fun one, but it kind of ended somewhere else entirely. These people are out there and nobody's helping them. They're only getting worse, and I have to ask, where does it end?
I warned you before. Stop. You're not going to listen, are you? I hear you laughing. But there's not going to be any more warnings. So you do whatever you got to do, and I'm going to do whatever I got to do, but it's over.
On January 27th, 2021, the initial trailer was released for a zombie survival game called The Day Before. It was hype, people loved it, and who can blame them? Zombies have been at the forefront of entertainment media for years now. Despite that, we haven't seen too many success stories in the gaming space. There is definitely a lot of mileage left for zombie games. The trailer quickly drew reactions from gaming content creators, and it wasn't long before questions started to be asked regarding not only the quality of what was on display, but the validity of the entire project. After all, who were these developers? What had they done before that would lead us to believe they were capable of such a beautiful and ambitious game? And where was a small studio getting the money to fund it all? It would be an understatement to say that these questions led to a rabbit hole. It was too big and too deep to be considered such. Instead, we're 2 years later and we're still questioning everything. This is The Day Before, the most wished for game on Steam that might not even exist. There are two questions you're going to need to remember throughout this video. One, is The Day Before a scam? And if it is, what exactly is it they're gaining by doing this? So after the initial hype of the trailer, which ended with an ominous coming soon screen and a link to wishlist the game on Steam, things went quiet for a few months. That is until March of 2021, when Mytona, which is the company who owns the development team Fantastic, sent out emails to the media, myself included. They informed us of a special live stream to be broadcasted on the IGN official YouTube channel, which we should definitely tune in for and check out if we were interested in The Day Before. Getting your game on the IGN platform like this is a huge deal, and of course it would draw the attention of other news outlets, creators, and game enthusiasts alike. So people marked it on their calendar, March 31st at 9 PST. All we knew is that they were saying it's showtime and we would be among the first to see, and I quote, something exciting. But unfortunately, showtime it wasn't. The livestream was delayed 24 hours prior on March 30th and instead set to go live on April 6th at the same time. Fast forward a week, fans tuned in, they were excited to see the day before logo with some nice chill background music, and surely it's gonna start soon, right? Well, no, the music continued to play, but nothing else happened. If you fired up Twitter to check the official Fantastic developer account, you would soon discover they were having some, quote, technical problems with the day before event. But worry not, you could enjoy the lakeside campfire radio while you waited. And waiting is exactly what you were doing for 9 hours, which is how long the stream ran like this. Bear in mind, this was expected to play a gameplay trailer. The level of technical ability required to load up a stream and then play an MP4 file for people to watch is something a child could accomplish. But this company, in partnership with IGN, a company that has run some of the biggest gaming announcements of the last decade, somehow couldn't handle this prospect. And so after 9 hours, the stream went down, and the Twitter account posted another update, stating the event was now postponed, and they'll set a new date soon. Now obviously this raised huge questions. Why did they delay it in the first place? Why did they set it if it wasn't ready? Was the gameplay trailer even there to be played? And why did they leave the stream up for 9 hours if they knew they couldn't get it to work? The only question we can really answer is that of competence. They seem to lack it. If a company can't get a trailer to go live, despite delaying it for a week already, how are they going to be able to deliver this massively ambitious game? The level of confidence in the day before was already low, but now the bar was set so low that even the most charitable person couldn't limbo it. But as we all know, public perception can easily be turned with hype. You're only ever one good gameplay trailer away from everyone forgetting what had happened in the first place. Which is why on April 9th, millions of people still watched eagerly. 13 minutes of gameplay was on display. Surely enough to prove to the doubters that this game really existed. After all, you could see driving vehicles around gorgeous landscapes, shooting zombies with awful efficiency, looting resources like food and ammo, entering and securing houses, and the tease of an intense player versus player interaction. After all, the most dangerous part of any zombie experience is always that of other survivors. But what any discerning video game enthusiast knows is that trailers are best taken with a 1 kilogram bag of salt in these modern times. Usually this statement refers to cinematic or teaser trailers, but it also applies to gameplay too. It is incredibly possible to massage the product to look infinitely better than the reality of the current state. For instance, you can build vertical slices of a game that have no underlying mechanics actually built on a wide scale, simply spending time to put together a sort of demo, a showcase of a small feature set in a very small area. You could spend hundreds of hours building this out, which oftentimes is hours wasted in development, since building for trailers is usually not the same as building for a playable experience. Usually games look awful for a very long time until they're actually near to being done. So when you have a trailer that's years out for a game that looks amazing, chances are that's not actually representing what the game is right now. It's essentially just makeup, it's marketing material, it's making it look pretty to sell the idea of what they think the game's gonna be. You can see this all across the industry. When a game's announced, it looks great, and then maybe a few years later it still looks good, but it's not usually as good as what you saw back then. The reason you can make it look graphically way better is due to the lack of a grander scale. The game might actually suffer from performance issues if this was a fully built game, but in a small vertical slice you can probably make it perform pretty well. Now that isn't to say this is what the day before was doing, but as we go further down the rabbit hole, the question remains and the possibility grows. Remember at the start of the video, I asked you to keep 2 questions in mind. Is the day before a scam? And if it is, what do they gain? Now to answer the first question, you would need to know what it is they're gaining in the first place. After all, the game isn't crowdfunded, they're not accepting pre-orders, and they're gaining zero money from the public. So how could it be malicious, or how could they be manufacturing this if they had no reason to do so?
Prepare to stream something amazing after the event. What does that mean? Is something coming today, guys?
You've just seen some new videos from the day before, and you know the release date. We're looking forward to delivering the day before for you. And now we have something more. Our second inner team at Fantastic has been working on something super fun over the year. We're happy to show you our new game, Prop Night. Join Prop Night open beta right after the event.
The most wishlisted game on Steam, a game that was being covered by thousands of YouTubers and Twitch streamers with a combined audience in the millions or tens of millions, was using email invites to hook people into a live trailer launch, teasing the potential to play and livestream something amazing after said trailer. Everyone thought this was going to be a surprise drop of the day before, with an alpha or something like that for people to play, to show off that they had a product. That something amazing though was Prop Night, an unrelated game that this tiny indie development studio had apparently been working on in conjunction with the day before. And the marketing, of course, had worked. The game peaked with thousands of players and over 100,000 Twitch live viewers on launch day, before of course inevitably falling to obscurity over the coming months of 2022. This was a fantastic attention grab using the clout that they'd garnered for the day before, one that would have paid off like almost nothing else if the product they promoted was of sufficient quality. And that's not to say Prop Night isn't good, but it's not a fantastic game. This is not something that people were crying out for. This is not the most wishlisted game on Steam. If it had been, this would have been propelled into a realm of success that is hardly possible from organic methods. Instead, what they got was initial interest and then a surge of complaints about the bait and switch tactic that they'd used. Essentially what they'd done here is traded the long-term trust and the public perception of their company, which was already at a low due to the fact nobody had seen the game, for a short-term boost on Prop Night. And maybe in a stroke of genius to kind of soften the blow a little bit of this announcement, they did say when the launch date would be, June 21st, 2022. Roughly 8 months until people got the real thing, the game that they were here for. Now as of the next 6 months, nothing really happened. There was a 60-second NVIDIA RTX clip, and then the website also went down with 0 explanations. But that's not a huge deal, right? Of course, not in isolation, and certainly could be entirely innocent, but in context, it was yet another arrow in the quiver of doubt, and another question mark as to not only the legitimacy, but the competence of this team that nobody truly knew anything about. Now at this stage, as fans usually do as they're waiting for something, if you're too quiet, they get quite upset, and people are asking questions. You've been talking about Prop Night, you've been updating Prop Night. Where's some more news on the day before, the game we actually care about? The developers replied on May 3rd, 2022, with an announcement to an announcement, something that isn't uncommon in the games industry, but it's pretty annoying. The day before news will be this week, exclamation mark, which does sound hype, and people were like, okay good, there's going to be news. But unfortunately that news was they were delaying the launch, something that a lot of people expected, because they weren't really showing the game, which made no sense a month before launch. That's presumably when you'd be doing the most marketing. As for the reason for the delay, well, that was the fans' fault. You see, they were truly DJ Khaled here, just suffering from success. Due to the incredible popularity of the game, they wanted to delay it so they could make it better, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But at the same time, when people are questioning whether your product exists, this is probably not the best look. This came in the form of an update from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, which had just released the month prior in April of 2022. This created a huge buzz of excitement in the industry because Unreal Engine 5 looks amazing. Everything you can do with it is amazing, and if your game's going to be on Unreal Engine 5, everyone is pretty excited for it. Unfortunately, this meant that the day before was going into 2023, March 1st specifically. Now there of course exists the saying, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is bad forever, famously from Nintendo video game designer Shigeru Miyamoto. However, no one had proof this game even existed, let alone would be eventually good, and you had to ask the question, were they just using the day before to drum up eyeballs of media and directing them to alternate, easier to create games? Due to questions like this being asked, people started to do some background checking on the team. Specifically, what games had they made previously? This was again more information to doubt that this was ever going to exist. Every game that this developer had made had been abandoned eventually, and by eventually, I don't mean years down the line when it was clear the game was fundamentally poor and wouldn't amount to what they expected. I mean abandoned almost immediately. The Wild 8 being an example of this. It was a, quote, intense survival action adventure set in the frozen wilderness of Alaska with online co-op capability. A game that had mostly positive reviews on release, but remained broken and lacking in care post-launch. It doesn't end there. They released 2 other games, a 30-minute long single-player narrative game that was made for mobile phones, but on Steam, and a first-person multiplayer horror game, which also launched in early access, flopped immediately, and abandoned just 3 months later. Which means 3 times people had bought games from this studio, and all 3 times they were sold an unfinished product that was not updated to a sufficient standard. According to the timeline of when they released and subsequently abandoned their latest game, Dead Dozen, and when they talked about starting development of the day before, the 2 lined up almost exactly, which is not a good look for a developer in isolation, but in context again, even worse. Yet more snow packed onto the snowball rolling down the hill of public perception. What really took the cake though was their website update, which included a section called Be a Volunteer.
Whatever you do in life, you do it willingly or unwillingly. If you do it willingly, it becomes a heaven. If you do it unwillingly, it becomes a hell. Fantastic culture is based on the idea of volunteering. Being a volunteer means that you willingly take part in working for a common cause. The idea of volunteering comes from our own experience and aspiration, or in other words, to become a person who says yes to life. Volunteering means that in every action you take, you bring a certain pleasantness.
Now let me just say that Fantastic appear to be using the most incredible PR speak imaginable here to turn what is an insane concept into one of utter confusion. Firstly, they say that Fantastic's culture is based on volunteering and that every single member of the company is a volunteer, meaning they're not holding anyone at gunpoint or forcing them to work, which I'm not sure is something you should need to clarify. So why do they? Well, because the idea of using unpaid volunteers is generally frowned upon, especially when it comes to doing the kind of work that Fantastic is looking for. They state that they employ full-time volunteers who are, by definition, just full-time salaried workers, and then they ask for part-time volunteers who work for, quote, cool rewards, participation certificates, and free codes, which, in lieu of payment for services rendered, are by definition not free, are they? The work they list for these free volunteers is things like translating, community moderating, and, quote, offer their unique skills to improve our projects or create new special features, which is incredibly vague, presumably on purpose to alleviate criticism. Now, just to clarify, Fantastic did come out in defense of all this, writing to Kotaku that the unpaid labor they were soliciting didn't actually write game code, but instead did things that also take time and usually garner salaries, such as localization, which alleviates the question of how is this game going to be good if they're using unpaid random people to code it, but begs the question why they think it's okay as a company claiming to be delivering the future of survival games in a massive multi-million-dollar AAA fashion while not paying for industry standard jobs. Now fast forward to 2023. YouTuber Big Fry posted a video discussing yet another incredibly suspicious aspect of Fantastic's marketing surrounding the day before. The studio released on January 4th, 2023 a video titled Life at Fantastic. As a YouTuber myself, I'm keenly aware of what is product placement and what is organic. This entire video watched like a dedicated and poorly obfuscated advertisement. The product on display is front and center throughout the 5-minute runtime. It's called the Continent app. They mention the Continent app multiple times in name throughout the video, which is incredibly inorganic and jarring. They also talk about their external volunteers again, and this is unclear whether they're talking about the paid or unpaid ones. The curious part of this though comes when you search the Continent app that they were pushing. Would you have guessed that this app is developed and owned by none other than Fantastic themselves. If you did guess that, congratulations. But you know what? In true Fantastic fashion, this gets even worse. They teased this Life at Fantastic video on their social media, claiming it will include new details about the game people are waiting for the day before. They were trying to direct their massive army of fans to come and view it. The video released only a few hours after an Nvidia exclusive showcase, which of course also directed eyeballs to Fantastic social media. Does this seem familiar at all? But wait, there's more. It seemed like yet another bait and switch, in almost the identical fashion as previously with Prop Night. Hey, you, interested fans of this game, come look at this cool day before information. Oh, what's that? Another product you don't care about but we happen to have created in the last few years? That's crazy. I wonder how that got there. And to make it even stranger, this video went live with a normal video description, but less than an hour afterwards, they updated it to include a continent app link which says, quote, download continent, and then a pinned comment with the same text and link. Something that advertisers will usually stipulate you do for YouTube videos so the maximum amount of people see it and are more likely to go and click on the product. And of course, to make it as sketchy as possible, when people called them on it, they removed the pinned comment, changed the continent app link to fantastic.com, turned off likes and dislikes to hide the massive dislike ratio, and then turned off the comments so people couldn't talk about it. If that isn't shamelessly being caught red-handed for something a child could see through, I don't know what is, and I don't know why they thought this would work, or that people wouldn't notice. So now that brings us to modern day. We have those two questions still. Is the day before a scam? And if so, what are they gaining? Well, so far, they've used their massive media presence and the captivated audience in order to launch an unrelated game and to try and sell an unrelated app. There's also the distinct possibility they've been using that public attention to parlay private funding, though that of course has no evidence and is just a theory. Though everybody knows if you have the most wishlisted game on the biggest gaming platform in the world, it's probably going to be easier to get some funding to walk into a boardroom and say, look at what we have, than if you don't have anything. Having said all that, we're going to find out real soon, because it's only a few months until the game launches, right? Well, on January 24th, 2023, people discovered that searching Steam's most wishlisted game was impossible. It wasn't there anymore. The game had vanished. It had been removed from Steam. Immediately, of course, the rumour mill churned into action, and people were speculating Steam had decided the game had long enough to prove itself real and removed it. Or maybe somebody had unearthed some evidence, sent it to Steam, and they'd removed the game as it didn't exist. Fantastic's moderator, Wolf, took to the Steam discussion board to clarify the situation. He stated, quote, "We are currently experiencing a minor technical difficulty with our game's visibility on the Steam store page. This is a known bug that has affected multiple titles in the past." He goes on to state that this is due to Steam maintenance and that it would be restored once maintenance concludes. This, however, was both incorrect and a lie. The game was not experiencing technical difficulty, it was experiencing incompetence, as it always had been. Fantastic released a statement which clarified on the reality of the situation. Steam blocked their game page at the request of a private individual. They state, and please hold your laughter, that the game, when they announced it in January 2021, had not actually been trademarked. The name the day before was not theirs, which means it was available for anyone else to do so. They also claim that they were only aware of the situation on January 19th, 2023. Both of these statements are, according to public filing records, also both incorrect. An individual by the name of Sunjay Lee filed a trademark months after the day before was announced, on May 21st, 2021. Fantastic then filed their trademark on January 27th, 2022, over a half a year later, and 1 year after they announced the game. As of November 2022, Sunjay Lee's trademark was approved without contention. That same month, Fantastic received a notice stating their trademark would not be processed, obviously due to the fact it was already taken. Now, of course, this is very confusing, and this news also came with information they were cancelling the launch of their much anticipated game trailer that was due to release within the next week or so, because they totally can't launch that trailer while a trademark issue is going on. Not only that, but they were also delaying the game, this time from March of 2023 to November of 2023. So let's examine this for a minute. What makes this situation absolutely ridiculous? Every facet of this has a massive question mark next to it. Firstly, why did you work on a game for 2 years without filing a trademark for it, something that's incredibly easy to do, especially when you announced it to the public and critically when the game got massive fanfare and attention? Surely you must have known this was something you had to do. Second, why when you discovered somebody else had filed the trademark months prior, did you not try to deal with the issue? And third, why would a trademark dispute prevent you from releasing a trailer and of course add on an 8-month-long delay? Something of course doesn't add up here. Overall, the game the day before was announced in January of 2021, along with the words coming soon. It now won't release until almost 2024, and that's if it even comes out at that time. Now I'm sure we can all understand that software development is hard and nailing deadlines when months out is incredibly difficult. Realistically, companies 10 times fantastic size, with 10 times as much experience launching products, still get this wrong frequent enough for it to be observable. But getting so many things wrong in such a short period of time and overshooting your launch window by 2 years without a single human being being capable of vouching for the product you allegedly have, it's all just beyond belief. The mistakes that they've made over this 2-year period are so incredibly silly that I cannot believe somebody capable of doing that could make a game on the scale that they've been talking about. Now remember, we also talked about the moderator who posted about the original reason for Steam delisting the game. Well, when all this came out, he posted on Discord saying, quote, "Those who wonder if the game is real, I'm..."
And there we go. The reason we want to be at this bar is there is a little tablet here that we need to activate. You then activate this, and we will see thirsty patrons swarm the bar. We have to kill the thirsty patrons. down we go.
Wondering the same right now. Nobody saw the gameplay. He is, of course, somebody who is unpaid and just moderating the game because he loves the community or he loves these types of games. But obviously, if even the moderators, the people who are answering questions for the community, the people you put in charge of speaking to the community and representing you in that way in your Discord server are saying things like this, then that's a really bad look. As an update, while this video was in editing, Fantastic dropped the gameplay trailer that they had delayed due to the trademark dispute. The trailer was their answer to proving the doubters wrong, but yet again, it raised more questions than it answered. People did a side-by-side comparison of the graphics from that initial trailer in 2021 to this new 2023 trailer, and it's night and day a downgrade, including the playable character, which looks incredibly low textured. The game world is mostly empty, and the 10 minutes of gameplay showed a half dozen zombies, no multiplayer elements, and very little actual features or functions. When dissected, people discovered that there are sections of the trailer that are a direct one-to-one copy of a Call of Duty trailer from some years ago. When putting them side by side, it's way too close to be considered tasteful inspiration, which does play into the fact that other elements of the day before are carbon copies of more successful products, such as the actual main game logo being identical in not only style but minor details to The Last of Us, and the main promotional images being identical to The Division. At this point, there are way too many examples of them copying other successful games that it cannot be a coincidence. And while many games use others as clear inspiration, very rarely is it so blatant in delivery as The Day Before. As for those two questions again, is The Day Before a scam? I don't think anyone can concretely point to a single piece of evidence in the story and say, yes, this is absolutely 100% a scam. It's just incredibly suspect. We can, however, say that judging from the competence of the development studio, not the actual people writing code of course, but the management that are making these decisions, they are absolutely incompetent. So much so that I would be incredibly comfortable stating that this game, if it ever launches, will be a complete mess. I'm talking missing content that was promised, bugs, networking issues, frame rate issues, bad communication, long waits for fixes, and of course, based on their track record, it will be liable to be abandoned at the drop of a hat if it doesn't perform as expected. In terms of the question of what they've gained that could substantiate the ability for it to have been an elaborate scheme, well, we know they've benefited from the eyeballs on the product by getting their name out there, by getting eyeballs on Prop Night, a game they actually released, which presumably is monetized, and by giving them the marketing opportunity to put their app in front of more people than it would otherwise have seen. And of course, the story isn't over here. We still have another 10 whole months and potential delays to come afterwards, in which time they could promote or leverage that audience in additional ways. At least whatever happens though, the indicators to not pre-order or purchase this game are as clear as day. Never has there been anything that has been as easy as this one. If there ever comes a time that a little green button appears on the Day Before Steam page with a dollar value next to it, you have never had more warning that it is suspect, and you should definitely wait for reviews from real people who you trust. That is of course if they ever get back on Steam. Perhaps they're going to even change the name and try to leave behind their awful reputation. Or maybe this is all part of a plan, that they purposefully engineered the entire situation to give themselves more excuses to delay, or even to sunset the project. Time will tell, but for now, The Day Before remains an absolute mystery. Will it ever release? And is the most popular game on Steam even real? On January 27th, Jonathan Michael Porter, better known by his stage name Blueface,
Females gonna watch this. Look at me, baby. Yeah.
young street entrepreneur, gang affiliate, and rapper from Los Angeles. Despite initially and perhaps still widely being mocked for his offbeat rap style,
because for the most part, on songs, he sounds like he's 30 seconds ahead of the beat, or like he's trying to race the beat to the finish of the song.
Blueface's success was meteoric. So much so, in fact, he was dubbed an industry plant by many hip-hop fans, claiming there's no way someone who can't rap on beat could become so popular in such a short period of time. Interestingly though, that's what kept his name in headlines. Despite this being musically not the best, his most popular songs were the ones that were the most offbeat. Could this continue to raise his profile and have his career continue to rise? Or was he another overnight star that burned bright only to fizzle out? These questions never got an answer. His life took a different path entirely, a much, much crazier one.
Yeah, man. They not worth. They not worth.
I just land it so bad.
Take me in. Take me in. Come on.
Blueface's rap career started with a bang, going viral with songs talking about his street life, his gang affiliation. Before long, he inked a deal with the West Coast arm of Cash Money Records, a notorious label ran by Birdman.
When my name come up, respect it.
Let's go.
Stop playing with my fucking name. I'll drill y'all. Stop playing with my name. I ain't gonna say it no more.
With this came opportunities, but of course, they have a cost. Birdman has a history of mistreating young artists. He's even associated with conspiracies about members who ended up dead shortly after leaving Cash Money. So despite being popular musically, Blueface didn't plan to stick around in the industry for very long, which of course was a shock to his management, who'd put down millions of dollars keeping him out of federal prison for multiple felony charges. Blueface wouldn't get back in the studio, instead starting to focus on multiple businesses using his name as leverage. First up, he started his own OnlyFans reality show called Blues Bad Girls Club.
Damn, y'all late. They already fighting.
A $50 a month subscription that gave access to YouTube quality episodes of the craziest reality show on the internet. If you ever wanted to see a dozen or so half-naked women in their 20s dance, drink and beat the shit out of each other, this was the show for you. The idea came from simplicity. Blueface liked watching girls get crazy, so when two girls on his music video set started fighting, he recorded it for social media and decided what better way to make money than to manufacture the perfect scenario to recreate this on a daily basis. The solution was real simple. He had a house in Hollywood with enough space, and he could pay the girls in something that everyone on social media wanted: clout. It would cost him almost nothing and earn him tens of thousands of dollars per month. The girls would come to him, they would send audition tapes, and if selected, live in the house where they would routinely punch the shit out of each other while competing for Blueface's attention and more social media followers, which they would then hope to monetize in other ways. The real star of this show, though, was a woman by the name of Krishan.
I play football. I'm 20 years old. I just moved out here from Baltimore. I'm not from LA, I'm from Baltimore. I moved out here like a week ago. Yeah.
What seemed like a real nice girl with a history like Blueface himself. He'd been a star football player in his high school days and even got a full-ride scholarship to play in college before getting homesick and returning home to join the schoolyard Crip street gang. Krishan was a junior Olympic-level track star with a bright future in the sport, though she of course put this on hold in the search of fame and fortune on Blueface's reality show. There was just something about her that put her ahead of the rest. As soon as she entered, an immediate fan favourite, mostly because she came into the show swinging, literally. Episode 1, she was fighting. Episode 2, she was fighting. Episode 3, you get the idea. There weren't many episodes where she wasn't throwing hands with one of the other girls. She clearly struggled with some personal demons, and then she drank alcohol, which was a frequent element of the show, and she became a demon.
Get the fuck out
She was the exact kind of person Blueface wanted, not just on his show, but apparently in his personal life. Rumours quickly began to circulate that Blueface and Krishan were more than meets the eye, especially since shortly after meeting, she got his entire face tattooed on her neck, an act that he apparently liked a lot, so much so that he started asking the other girls to do it unless they wanted to get kicked off of his OnlyFans reality show. They were literally branding themselves with his face, all while being paid nothing but potential social media followers if people liked what they saw. Krishan, however, was special to him for whatever reason. She started to rap under the name Krishan Rock, and Blueface signed her, managed her career, and before long, she had 5 tattoos of Blueface.
One on my face, one on my neck that say Jonathan Jamal Porter, one on my that say Jonathan, one on my hand that say Jonathan.
Though of course recently this number increased to 7. Behind the scenes, they were an unofficial couple. Before long, they were public, not just in their relationship status, but in their relationship dysfunction. Blueface alone at this time was capable of making headlines, never for his music anymore, mostly for his criminal activities, such as a high-speed chase that resulted in him shooting at a man who robbed him at a gas station. But now, it was being publicly intoxicated and physically fighting his girlfriend in the street, in a bar, in a restaurant, basically anywhere and everywhere. Multiple videos circulated showing her beating him beating her, and this was just the beginning. Blueface was no longer staying relevant for anything except him and Krishan being crazy. It wouldn't even be a stretch to say she was keeping his name relevant when nobody even knew who she was a few years prior. Pretty much nobody at this stage was asking, when's Blueface going to release a new track? They were instead asking, have you seen what's going on with Blueface and Krishan? Which is likely why Blueface saw this as a perfect opportunity. Where most other people would probably break off the relationship, or at least try to keep it behind closed doors and get on with their career, he had completely different plans. He signed up with a company called Zeus, and they had a camera crew follow their every move, recording for a show called Crazy in Love, which would launch on their streaming platform. A way to monetize the most toxic relationship on the internet, a behind-the-scenes, intimate look at their life. This show outed many details that makes it, honestly, incredibly difficult not to watch. It's like a perpetual car crash. You laugh, you shake your head, you cannot believe what they're doing to each other. If the snippets of being caught fighting each other in the public was of interest, you could now watch them manipulate and abuse each other in high definition across almost hour-long episodes. You could watch Blueface go to Baltimore to meet Krishan's family for the first ever time, get sucker punched by her father, and then minutes later catch him with his back turned and knock the 60-year-old man unconscious, leaving him bleeding on the pavement, and then mocking him saying, "I'm her daddy now." You could hear about how Krishan beat the fuck out of Blueface's mother in Blueface's house while he watched and encouraged her to do it, or how his sister and her husband came over to teach her a lesson after laying hands on their mother, only for Blueface's friends to jump in and beat up her husband, bragging about stomping on his head, and then record Krishan beating up his sister to post on social media. You could watch the court case against Krishan for the time she broke into Blueface's house, wrote how much she loves him on his mirror in human blood, and then steal his car, driving it herself and some drugs across state lines. Or how about when she travelled alone to the court case while Blueface went to Vegas without telling her, and then got caught on CCTV shooting at a man outside of a strip club, gaining himself another attempted murder charge and more millions of dollars in legal fees for his record label, who he doesn't make music for anymore. Pretty much every episode is them getting drunk, her drinking hard liquor from the bottle at 8 AM, and then them getting into physical altercations, like the time she smashed a glass over his head. It really does seem like they're locked in this together, in a race to the bottom. Krishan seems like an alcoholic, Blueface seems to enable her, though it's unclear whether he does this so she goes crazy and gives him more internet clout to stay relevant, or if he just doesn't know how else to handle her. She seems to drink to cope with the fact she was abused as a kid by a drug-addicted mother, an absent in-prison father who was only around long enough to beat her, and now lives with a man who routinely neglects and abandons her for other women. It's to the point where they're drinking hard liquor and drunk in couples counseling. Despite all this, and despite how crazy their life is, every episode has a snap back to reality moment. A look behind the curtain that the viral TMZ clips didn't ever show you. These are two heavily damaged people who found each other and do seem to love each other despite what's going on. They're entirely codependent, they're fucked up, they have their own emotions, wants, needs and pain, and they just can't escape from each other. It's never clear who's the abuser, as they're both as bad or worse than each other in every scene alternating, which is probably why it's so popular. You never know what's going to happen next, and which one you're going to sympathise with, if any. It is, without a doubt, the most real reality show out there, with the fitting title, Crazy in Love. Because no matter how much they beat each other, no matter how much they cheat on each other, how much everyone around them tells them to get out of each other's life before one kills the other for real, they end up back together days later. It's so crazy that they can't even go on a podcast for longer than 20 minutes without Krishan being so drunk and aggressive that something crazy happens. So it seems like Blueface's career is over. It seems like he killed his own career, at least as a rapper. His relevance now exists entirely in the realm of what crazy shit is going to happen between him and his girlfriend. A train wreck that keeps going, documented exclusively for a subscription fee. It's impossible to say how real this relationship is, though the Crazy in Love series does make it seem very much so. The worst part of it all, of course, is that while ever they're earning the majority of their combined income from being toxic and beating each other up, they're unlikely to ever improve. And if they get any worse than they currently are, it's hard to imagine that this doesn't end in tragedy, one way or another. Meet Aiden Ross. Jonathan Michael Porter